Nobody warns you about the quiet kind of losing. The kind where nothing collapses, nothing breaks, no single moment you can hold up and say, that's where it went wrong. The quiet kind just accumulates, day after ordinary day, until one morning you're 34 years old and you realize the life you're living has the exact shape of the habits you never thought to question. His name is James. He's 33. He has a decent apartment on the 4th floor of a building he chose because it was close to the office and had good natural light. He doesn't notice the light much anymore. On his kitchen table, there is a navy blue jacket. Not hung up, not stored away, just placed on the back of a chair the way things get placed when you tell yourself you'll deal with them later. It belonged to his father, an old journalist's jacket. Soft cotton with 2 front pockets that still have the slight rectangular impression from years of notepads being slid in and out. His father died when James was 27, and he took the jacket because it was the most ordinary thing in the room that still smelled like him. James used to write. Not novels, not columns, not anything with a name yet, just writing. The kind that starts as journaling and slowly becomes something more deliberate. He had a clarity in his sentences that surprised people when they read them, a way of seeing ordinary things and describing them so precisely that whoever read the description immediately felt they'd always seen it the same way, but never found the words. His university professor told him once, quietly, after a seminar, that he had a natural instinct for narrative, that it was rare, that he shouldn't let it go unexercised. He hasn't written anything in 18 months. His phone is the first thing he touches every morning. Not last night's regret, not the light in the apartment, not the quiet that belongs entirely to him before the day claims it. The phone. 6:23, alarm sounds, eyes open, hand moves. In the space between sleep and consciousness, before intention has a chance to form, the habit is already running. The feed unrolls. News he'll forget. A video that starts before he chooses to watch it. 3 posts from people whose lives look assembled in a way his doesn't. Somewhere in that scroll, 15 minutes become 30. 30 becomes the whole morning. He gets up rushed, skips breakfast half the time, drives to the office with the radio covering the silence where his own thoughts could have been. At work, he is focused and capable and entirely somewhere else. He answers emails with precision. He hits every deadline. He is, by every professional measure, completely fine. His manager calls him reliable. He has started to hate that word. The jacket hangs on the kitchen chair. He moves it sometimes when he has people over, hangs it in the closet, and always brings it back to the chair afterward. He doesn't examine why. Some things you carry without needing to understand the weight. His brother calls every other Sunday. Older by 4 years, settled in a different city with kids and a mortgage, and a life that runs on a visible logic James respects but cannot imagine for himself. The calls are warm but slightly parallel. 2 lives reported in summary, rarely touching the actual interior of either one. Near the end of most calls, his brother asks if he's still writing. James says sometimes. His brother says, "Good, that's good." And both of them accept this small lie like something negotiated in advance. One evening in October, James is looking for his passport in the closet, and he finds a box he hasn't opened in 3 years. Inside it, underneath a broken watch and 2 foreign coins, is a notebook. Dark blue, thick pages, the kind you buy intending to fill it seriously. He opens it to the first page. His own handwriting, younger looking somehow, even though it's only been 3 years. The first entry is a description of his father sitting at the kitchen table the morning after they learned the diagnosis. Just the details of it. The coffee cup, the angle of the light, the way his father's hands were resting on the table as if they didn't know what to do with themselves without something to hold. No commentary, no meaning imposed on it, just the scene, witnessed and preserved. James reads it twice. He sits on the floor of his closet with the notebook in his hands. He does not write anything that evening. He closes the notebook, sets it on his desk where he'll see it, goes to bed. Here is where the story becomes two stories. In the first version, the notebook sits on the desk. He sees it every day. Some mornings he thinks about writing before he picks up the phone. He thinks about it clearly, concretely, with genuine intention. Then the phone comes alive in his hand, and the intention quietly evaporates like breath in cold air. The notebook moves to the corner of the desk, then to a drawer, then eventually back to the box. Not because he decided to give up, because he never quite decided anything. That's the mechanism of this particular loss. It happens entirely in the absence of decision. He is 46. The jacket is still on the kitchen chair. He moved apartments twice and brought them both, settled it back on the nearest chair each time as if it needed to be somewhere visible, as if he was still working something out. He is a department manager now. The role came without him seeking it, the way things come to people who are consistently reliable. He has a relationship that is honest and companionable and does not ask much of either of them. His brother stopped asking about the writing sometime in his late 30s. He remembers the last time he was asked. He remembers saying sometimes, the way he always said it. He remembers his brother's pause before moving on. That pause lives somewhere in him still, small and specific, the shape of a question that stopped being asked because the answer had been clear for years. Some evenings, he sits at the kitchen table and reads long pieces of journalism online. Good writing. The kind of careful, precise, deeply human writing that holds something ordinary up to the light until it glows. He reads it slowly. He feels something reading it that isn't quite envy and isn't quite grief, something that only exists in the specific vocabulary of unlived potential. In the second version of this life, on a Wednesday in November, James puts the notebook on his nightstand instead of back in the drawer. The phone stays on the far side of the room, plugged in on the dresser. He doesn't announce this change to anyone. He doesn't frame it as a resolution or a new chapter or a turning point. He just makes it slightly harder to reach for the screen and slightly easier to reach for the page. The first morning, he writes 4 sentences. They're not good sentences. They're stiff with disuse, but they are his, made at 6:23 in the morning before a single thing outside him has made any claim to his attention. He reads them back. Then he gets up and goes to work. 4 sentences the next morning, 7 the morning after. Some mornings nothing comes, and he just sits with the notebook open on his lap in the quiet and lets the quiet be enough. The writing gets less stiff over weeks. Then over months, it starts to find the quality he remembered having, that precision, that instinct his professor named. It comes back the way a physical skill comes back, not all at once, but in accumulating increments, each session building on the last with a fidelity to craft that has its own slow, private dignity. 18 months after the notebook moved to the nightstand, James submits an essay to a literary magazine. It's about his father, about that morning at the kitchen table, the coffee cup, the angle of the light, the hands that didn't know what to do with themselves without something to hold. The magazine publishes it. He doesn't tell his brother until he sees the notification email. He calls him on the Sunday, earlier than usual. His brother picks up, and before he can ask anything, James says, "Remember when you used to ask me if I was still writing?" His brother says, "Yeah." James says, "Check your email." His brother calls back 11 minutes later. Neither of them says much. His brother's voice is the thing James will remember, a specific quality in it that sounds like relief, like something that had been held gently in suspension, finally being allowed to settle. He hangs the jacket in the closet after that, not abandoning it, just making room at the kitchen table for the notebook. Here is what the mornings were doing, the whole time, in both versions of this story. They were not just determining what James did with his first hour, they were determining who James believed himself to be. Every morning the phone came first. His identity received a quiet instruction. You are an observer. You receive. You watch. Every morning the notebook came first. The instruction was different. You are someone who makes things. You create. You show up for the part of yourself that no job title, no relationship, no perfectly adequate life can ever fully reach. Habit is not a routine. Habit is a definition, and you have been defining yourself every morning in the first 60 seconds after your eyes open for years. The jacket is still on the chair in one version of this story. Ask yourself which version of your life you are currently writing, and then ask yourself what your hand reaches for first tomorrow morning in the moment before you decide who you are.